Hi, and welcome to the Five Spheres of Fit. I am Sabrina, the president.
And I am Noel, the founder and creative director.
The Five Spheres is a holistic wellness strategy that constantly evolves with you. The five spheres are the physical, mental, financial, social, and educational spheres. Noel, today I wanted to talk about a topic that I feel most people deal with at one point in their life, which is weight gain or weight loss. And I want to specifically talk about how the Five Spheres of Fit strategy can help with the journey of weight and what someone is trying to do when it comes to their weight. It's a multi-billion dollar industry. It's something as people get older, they struggle with. Yep. Now, even children are struggling with it, tweens and teens. So I feel like the earlier we talk about having a strategy that can help support that journey, and especially a holistic one, the better off most people will be.
Absolutely. And I think you bring up a really good point, and it's this. We have learned, not only in our personal lives, Sabrina, but in dealing with others, whether it's friends, family, and whomever. We've owned, obviously, CrossFit gyms in the past and obviously been engaged in different gyms. The consequences, I think, of taking on a weight loss or weight gain journey is so profound that I think too many people sort of just see it as like a physical sphere approach. And it's just not. There's so many other factors. And I think that's the stuff that we want to talk about today, so that hopefully audience will kind of understand this from a perspective that not only will it help them understand how to go on that journey, but also how to experience it along the way and deal with different stresses and focus on things like, we'll talk about this, the resiliency in their mental sphere to kind of keep going and keep this in place. So I'm excited. This is a good one.
Yeah. So, let's get right to it, sure. Right? I mean, we know our physical weight falls into the physical sphere. I think that's pretty obvious. Let's talk about the impact of the mental sphere and the physical sphere together.
Sure. And before we start, I'm sure everyone out there is probably thinking, from my perspective, to be talking with your wife on a podcast about weight, I'm delving into some really uncharted waters here.
So. Let me tell you, this happens all the time. And we went to a party this weekend, and two men come up to Noel and are like, this guy, he's always such a rock, so fit. And here I am standing right next to him. I'm like, I work out too, but it's okay. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. So here we go. So your question, understanding sort of the mental sphere and physical sphere confluence and kind of how those two are impacting. So obviously when you goal plan and you say, hey, I want to lose weight or I want to gain weight, as the case may be, I think most people will start out with a plan that really just focuses, Sabrina, on that physical sphere. So they may join a gym, change their diet, start maybe putting protein in the diet. And as we've seen recently, maybe look to medical alternatives. You know, we know of the different jugs and shots that you can take to help you lose weight. So I think when people start in that area, they also want to be cognizant of how that's going to impact them emotionally.
Right.
And as we just talked about, like that fear of having the conversation sometimes with the people you love about weight loss in particular, or even weight gain as the case may be. But I think more to the point, weight loss, you really kind of have to, in some cases, really kind of tiptoe around that, because you don't want to be upsetting to someone who's going through that journey. You want to be as supportive as you can, but sometimes that's really difficult. And then as the person going through that, so if you set that goal to do either gain or loss, you're trying to figure out, well, how do I keep this going? It's not, I mean, you said it's a multi-billion dollar industry. There's a reason for that, right? Because people try one things. And I always think about like those late night infomercials where like they sell you like the physical fitness equipment. It's like, honestly, like who buys that? But then you meet people and you're like, oh man, I
millions.
Bought yeah. And so when I see that, I think to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe this is really more of a breakdown in the mental sphere, where resiliency, that concept of like staying with it,
right,
despite hiccups, road bumps. You know, you take a vacation in the middle of a new diet plan, and you feel like you've fallen off the wagon, and then all of a sudden just quit and say, no, it's not the right time. I'll wait till the end of summer and I'll start in fall. And like, I think that's a big point. So talking a little bit about your own resiliency and maybe where your challenges come from, I think that's something that's really,
and that's why resiliency, you know, people say, if you want to be fit, if you want to be healthy, it's a lifestyle. It's not just a quick diet scheme.
It's a great point.
You know, and that's why a lot of people fall off that wagon, because you lose resiliency when it's something challenging, right?
So I would say to our audience, if you're looking at this, so we're talking about weight loss, we're talking about weight gain, have a plan for your resiliency. Understand that there may be some failings along the way, and how are you going to kind of keep going? The second point I think that's really in this mental sphere that's so important is just your self-talk and motivation. And I don't know how a lot of folks do that. I mean, I'm aware of how motivation works. I've gotten to a point, and I'm about to be 50, and this might sound a little juvenile at times, but I really do like talk to myself. And I don't know how many people do that, but especially I'll go out. I'll give you an example. So I'll go out in the garage. I do my workouts, and it doesn't matter what time of day. If it's 100 degrees out, I'm going. I'm not committed to it. That being said, I know that there are challenges ahead of me, and so I'll break my work up into a 5-round workout. By that third round, Sabrina, like I'm starting to feel like the weight of the workout. So honestly, like yesterday, for example, I was coming up the hill. So I started with a 100-meter downhill run, then run back up 100 meters. I was coming up on that third round, and I just started telling myself, Noel, I love you. I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. Keep going. Like, you got this, because it is hard. Like, It's not like I'm not out there like, oh, I do this all the time. This is so easy. It's not. It's so hard. But
Mine's
I built
the opposite. Mine is self-talk with food. And Noel is not a foodie. In fact, he just eats to survive. Yeah. You eat raw broccoli for lunch, and you're excited about that. I do not get excited about that. Yeah. In fact, I have to, and so just recently I met a fitness coach online. Her name is Nikita Sharma. She is so sweet and knowledgeable, and she is teaching me all about macros. And I'll get more into that a little bit later. The macros she's provided for me are high. Like, I am eating all the time. And I told her on a phone call yesterday, I said, I'm doing a lot of self-talk, but I've always had to do that. Like, okay, my daughter's eating cake. Don't eat it. Don't take a bite. Don't eat it. And I told her, I said, I'm so tired of doing that. I'm tired of going to a restaurant. And I know I am not alone. In fact, I'm probably in the majority of even women doing this, women in perimenopause doing this, even worse, that are at a restaurant. I'm like, don't eat the bread. Don't eat the bread. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. Okay, you could just have one bite. No, don't do that. Don't do it. It's like constant, and it's so exhausting. Yeah. So self-talk, positive self-talk, and getting to the point where you're like having a healthy relationship with your body, with working out, with food, having that healthy mental status with it all.
I think everyone who is in this space, whether it's counselors, doctors, fitness folks, they'll all agree that having a stress management plan is critical to finding success when it comes to either weight loss or weight gain. Because
and it's not really easy. This is not easy. This is years of me, the last few years of going into perimenopause have been really tough. And I think, I think I said in the last episode, we need to do an episode just on this, but it's been, it's taken a couple of years for me to get to a point where I'm like, I think I have a plan in place, and it's making me feel mentally better. Like vice versa. The mental plan is in place. It's helping me physically, and the physical is helping the mental.
And if this segues nicely right into our social sphere. And that is, I think when you, just to your point, like when you have all of that in place, Sabrina, as you do, and I know you're continually working on that in the mental sphere to support that physical sphere, socially, you're then more accountable. And so you're now sort of so hyper focused on that accountability that it permeates into like your social sphere. And we have plenty of people who've told you in particular, and I think maybe women may deal with this more than men, you shouldn't eat that much if you're trying to lose weight. You're working out so hard and doing all these things. You definitely want to cut back on the food because that's not supportive. And we both know like that is just asinine.
Yeah.
That's
the thing. I didn't think it was asinine because I thought just don't eat and you'll start losing weight. But now that I have tapped into my educational sphere, I'm learning so much more, especially from Nikita. I need to give her these shout outs because I'm learning so much that, my carbs should not be at 30 grams a day
when you're asking your body
if I'm trying to build muscle and burn fat.
Correct.
But if you talk to an Indian woman in their 70s who grew up in India, they're going to tell you, well, why do you want muscle? Sure. Why are you eating so much, brown rice? And
you're going to hurt yourself lifting weight.
Yes, you're going to hit, but
despite doctor recommendations about the importance of building bone density and health and muscularity to obviously stave off disease. It's as fact-based as you can get. And so staying in that that social sphere, Sabrina, that's allowed you to actually be more accountable and then create this sort of group of people around you, Nikita and some of the maybe the other
The
folks
other
who are
women who are
also
doing
doing
this
that,
program.
but also your friends who support you, your tennis group,
Yeah.
the people, obviously myself included, the people who recognize that your journey is one, it's about you. And so your choices, you're a smart individual. And I think the people who are around you recognize, well, Sabrina makes smart choices all the time. This sounds like a smart thing. So you've now surrounded yourself by a circle of supportive advocates, if you want to call it
Absolutely.
that. Not only that, but you've now removed a lot of that social pressure. You talked about a second ago, like, maybe particularly folks who are a little bit older and don't appreciate women being this physical. Men who may see, well, what's the point? You don't need that, or whatever the case may be. You're removing a lot of that social pressure. So in our social sphere, we're improving by, we've got accountability. We've got this circle of
And I
supporters
have more
and advocates.
energy.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
excited to be around
Absolutely.
all these people. So
it's a positive environment. And when you foster that, you're far more likely to have success. And this is weight loss, this is weight gain, this is anything that you might goal plan for. When you create that positive reinforcement, that circle of support, I mean, anything becomes possible.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, if you have that self-motivation, you're doing all that self-talk, you're unstoppable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can honestly say I have felt that way. Now I don't have like a large group of supporters that I lean on. Like I don't have to lean into that. But to your point, like when we went to that party, I mean, am I flattered? For sure. I'm about to be 50 and another grown man hugs me and says these nice things. Like, that's cool. Okay. And I get all that. It's not going to, I guess it's like fruits of the labor, but it's not something I'm shooting for. It's just like an ancillary benefit.
I know. And I joke too. I'm so proud to, walk in with him and, he's so healthy and fit, knock on wood, right? It's plastic.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. I do want to talk about this because this one is a tough one. Not everyone has the financial means. We're tapping into the financial sphere now to eat healthy all the time. I mean, healthy food is expensive.
Like organic produce and
it's expensive.
The supplements and all that. Yeah.
We are lucky that we can buy our equipment and we have it in the garage and that I can say, with this fitness coach, she had different plans and I did pick the most affordable one first, which was $100 because I was like, well, let me see how this works. Right? I'm not going to pick, one that's several $100s a month yet. I want to test this out and make sure it works for me.
And fair enough, maybe you might not need that level of support.
Of course.
And so what I like that she's done is she's giving her potential clients opportunities to be like, hey, do you want like full service? Yeah. Do you want some mid-tier?
Yes, and that's exactly what it is.
She's supporting you exactly where you are in your life.
But what about the person that says, well, that's easy for you to do because you have the means, right?
And we acknowledge that. We acknowledge that.
So what do you recommend for someone who, maybe is living paycheck to paycheck and is struggling, but knows that if they get this physical sphere in balance, that could help them mentally, financially, socially, et cetera.
So one of the beauties of kind of where we are in the world with the internet and access to information is that there are also a lot of free content pieces, whether it's articles, whether it's websites offering free workouts. I know even here in our community, the library, I think like on Saturdays or Sundays, they have like free workouts. Yeah. So you've got this access that's available to you. Now, whether you choose to use it or not is that's up to you. And I get that maybe some people may work on Saturdays and Sundays, can't do that, or they work late and can't go to some of these free opportunities that are out there. What you can do, and I would say is just Google search free workouts or
Google. Social media. Go to TikTok and there are these reputable financial.
I'm aging myself a little bit because that's what I would do. But like a lot of the younger folks who will use their social media to find out what are the best spots for stuff. Fitness is another realm where they can do that. And you don't have to spend a lot of money going to the gym. You don't have to do that. It's a matter of just getting started. That's step one. Don't put so much pressure. This goes right back to that social sphere stuff. There's a lot of social pressure, like, summer's coming. I want to look good in a bathing suit or whatever. It's like, try to remove that from the equation and just put yourself first. Don't put anyone else's thoughts.
Try
don't put
to feel
societal
good.
Thoughts. Don't judge yourself. Be kind. Have that personal gratitude. And we talked about that.
And that grace for yourself.
Absolutely. I think that in the financial sphere is really about, let me find something that works for me financially. I can't join a gym or I can. Well, that's one or two, right? And then move to the next one. Well, what level of commitment can you make? Is it an hour out of your day? Some people because of their work schedule and family schedule, and that goes right back to your social sphere,
Yeah.
they don't have a full hour.
Oh, we hear
They might
this
have
all the
15 minutes.
time.
They might have 20 minutes. They might have 30. Whatever it is, figure out what you can fit into that space and just go do it. Take a walk.
Yeah.
Start there. Like if you're at work,
Just move your body.
Get up from lunch and just, walk around your building. I think once you get that physical, like the endorphins going and you start to make that commitment and it becomes more ritualistic or habitual for you, you'll just want to do more of it. And I think that's where we want to try to get people to go, not just with something like this, but just anything. Because I think the 5 spheres is then that strategy that supports them in that whatever that goal is that they're trying to achieve. In this case, we're talking about weight loss today. Financially, you don't have to be overburdened by that. Figure out what
Don't
works
be
for you.
overburdened.
Yeah.
Learn how to financially invest in your health.
Yep.
Right?
Great point. Invest in yourself. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's the single greatest investment you'll ever make is your own personal health. And you know this, I never ask anyone what they do, how they're doing. I don't use those just basic. I ask how their health is.
Yeah.
And I know for some people that comes off maybe as a little bit abrasive or it's like too much. Like, what's he asking about? But I honestly care for the person that I'm having the conversation with. So I do want to know, how are you doing? And I would say maybe more than half kind of look at me, but then are like, wow, this guy
that was
is
nice.
Actually, well,
that was
I think
thoughtful.
they see the genuineness.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know if you're okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. Like, but it's weird to go, hey, are you okay? It's like, well, did I show you some signs of not being? So I did, hey, how's your health? Something simple like that. That gets the ball rolling. And people tell me all the time about how they want to get back into something. So just even simple, social sphere connections like that can help set you on that path of being successful. Because you're like, oh, I've got support or people care. Now I'm going to really start to goal plan. I'm going to really start to make this happen.
Yep, absolutely. Let's shift to the last sphere, which is the educational sphere. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I've really tapped into that one in the last few weeks. Nikita's the one that I started following her on Instagram, and she reached out to me and said, thank you for the follow. So that led me to, click on her website and read more about what she does. And I feel like I have learned so much from her just in a couple of weeks. And of course, it's stuff that was on the internet, Googling, but I didn't take the time to really learn and understand it.
It wasn't
I created these macros for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first thing I told her. I said, I'm doing it wrong and I need some help. And, then I found someone else online after I started working with her who provides your macros for free. So there are free services online that do that. Mm-hmm. But just understanding nutrition, understanding fitness, understanding your body. And it does take time, but you gotta invest in it. You gotta put that time to take care of yourself.
What's a great point to make here is, I said in the outset, like there's a multi-billion-dollar industry. I think you said it actually, multi-billion-dollar industry, and everyone's trying to sell you on the next great weight loss idea or strategy. I think one of the things that we overlooked oftentimes, and that you may call them failures or whatever, but I often think it's like mistakes that you made along your journey in weight loss. And I'm not talking about you, but just anyone in general. Like those are such great guideposts for someone who's trying to make this a lifestyle, like you said earlier, is recognizing where do I fail? What are the things that maybe I have done in my past on a journey like this where I couldn't get to the point of being resilient because I kept doing X, Y, or Z, and figuring those things out. That's as much educational as understanding the nutrition going into 100%. Your body, the workouts that you're engaging in. So many people, they'll go to a gym and all you're doing, Sabrina, at some of these global gyms, you're just renting the equipment.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing. So unless you have a plan in place or someone has taught you how to do so, or you're certified perhaps, as we are in the CrossFit methodology as a certified coach, I understand what it is I'm trying to achieve every time I go to any gym that I go to. But I know that a lot of folks may not be in that situation. So I think it's important educationally to understand, like, one, what you're going to put into your body. That's 80%. And then number two, what are you going to do for your workout and why are you doing it? What are the end goals for you, and are those beneficial for you in the long run? As we age, we want to try to build muscle and bone density and things like that, and obviously make sure our cardiovascular and respiratory systems are highly functional. Right. Like those are important things, but maybe we don't need to be running marathons or lifting, well, maybe we do need to lift a lot of
Yeah,
weight,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, but to my point, just understanding that from an educational standpoint, like be smart about what you're doing. Don't do crazy
Yeah.
stuff that maybe the risk versus the reward is way out of whack. You know, I like to do a lot of crazy stuff, but I'm also very different that way. And I recognize that.
And
So
so are
don't look at
marathon
me as a
runners. If that's
comparison.
something
Yeah,
that they
I couldn't
enjoy
run a
and are
marathon.
passionate about, of
Yeah,
course.
go
But if you're
for it.
not passionate about it,
If you're
doesn't
not,
mean you
yeah,
have to do
yeah,
that. You could find
yeah.
something else
And what I mean by
that
that,
fits your
I'm not going to look
needs.
to the marathon runner as like my source of like inspiration to go do something, because that's not where I'm at.
Yeah.
Those are highly trained athletes and they're incredible. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
Heck, I have trouble running a mile. So I don't look at that. So I just think the point here, just be smart about what your choices are in all aspects of this whole weight loss journey,
Yeah.
because I think that too will help you go back to that mental sphere of resiliency and make this like an event that will actually happen. Like you're going to be successful, and then you're going to be able to do just rinse and repeat and keep
Right.
this going. And to your point, make it a lifestyle.
I was just thinking when, we chose the topic weight loss or weight gain on this episode.
So far, so good. We've made it through.
Yeah. Yeah. No fighting. Yeah. But you could take any goal or challenge in your life and apply the 5 spheres of fit strategy.
Absolutely.
And that's what I was thinking right now. I mean, I've known that, but it was just something I thought of, just saying out loud on this episode.
We've said, here you go, right? Organize. We've given you sort of this framework. Evaluate the opportunities with the little bullet points there of how you look at this weight loss journey. And then thirdly, how you come up with those solutions.
Yeah.
Right? Organize, evaluate, problem solve. Give yourself that grace, give yourself that opportunity to be successful. The 5 Spheres platform is the very platform to which to launch you into that success. Then you just got to do and put in the work. And that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Right? We've given you the platform. The hard part is go to do it.
Right. Like anything else.
And I'm not making light of it, because I do know this is really hard. And I know our focus has been on weight loss. We know about, child obesity here in America and how just incredible those numbers have become. And then obviously with adults in America, and it's a big thing, but also that concept of weight gain. And I know some families out there, they deal with that. Maybe their children are a little undersized, maybe they're undersized and they need to put on weight, as a protective measure for themselves and their longevity. Covering both bases, I do think the platform of 5 Spheres is like an ideal one in which to sort of launch you into that goal planning for either one of those 2 goals. And then you sort of put the meat on the bone and just go to it.
I like that. Fine. Those are your final thoughts?
Those are my final thoughts.
Anyone who's on this journey, good luck. Stay the course. If you fall off the course, get back on.
Don't beat yourself up.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up. Give yourself some grace. Reevaluate your 5 spheres plan, and eventually you will get there. Reach out to your social sphere for support. It's so important. And just remember, it's not just we're not just worried about numbers on a scale. We're worried about balance in all our 5 spheres.
100%. 100%. Well said.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great day.